Om Jnana Tyamasha Jnana Jnana Chakramukam Ye Tasmai Shri Gay Namaha. So I ask any of you who are decent and able to put on your cameras. I realize not everyone can, and I'll assume those who don't put on their cameras consider themselves so ugly they don't want to even present. But putting that aside, so I like to see who's here, but I'm welcome. I see uh, various friends of mine here, and I'm all glad you're here. Um, so uh, today we're discussing from the 11th canto, chapter 2, verse 46. Yes, I got that right. Maharaj Nimi meets the 9 Yogendras. And we're talking about the various levels of devotees. This is found in the Upadeshamrita and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's discussed in some detail. It's also referred to in the Gita. And it's a very important concept. It was once one devotee joined the movement. And he put one of these harmonica racks around his neck. When you play harmonica, there's a rack you can put around your neck that holds it. And he put it around his neck and put the Maha Mantra in it. And he would then chant all day and be looking at this mantra. And when somebody would ask him, can you help serve out prasadam? Can you clean the kitchen? Can you do anything? His response was, I'm too busy. I'm chanting Hare Krishna. And he lasted 3 days before he left and never came back. So this is pure devotee syndrome. I've seen many times where somebody gets initiated and the next day they're doing great, and the next day their spiritual life collapses, absolutely collapses. Why is that? It's pure devotee syndrome. Prabhupada said over 150 times, I personally counted, that Krishna consciousness is a gradual process. So we get this pure devotee syndrome. One time, Rabindra Sarup did this brilliant quote, a comment, and he said, first you become a pure devotee, and then as you mature, you become a human being. So this verse is discussing this concept. How is it? What does advancement look like? And the verse is particularly focused on us. I was in this in Mayapur, and this little preface, then we'll get into the verse. I like giving a context so we know what we're talking about. I was in Mayapur. I was the only guest at the first Mayapur, the Gaur Purnima in 1972. And devotees told me that, well, anything that's prasadam you should eat, except what I was eating was burning my guts out, literally. I needed a fire extinguisher because it was, so full of chilies. By the way, Lord Chaitanya never in his half a century, little less than a half a century on earth, never ate a chili pepper. Can someone tell me how I know that? He never ate one. I can say that with great certainty.
Because the mood that he had.
Say again?
The mood that he had.
He was. Nope. That wasn't the reason. It's a good guess, but that's not the reason. How do I know Lord Chaitanya never ate chili pepper? Let me give you a hint. It's not found in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
It wasn't in India at the time.
Of course, there are no chilies in India. They came from the New World. So this idea of burning your guts out with overly spicy food is not some ancient tradition. I just wanted to add that little commentary. So, let me turn to what I'm going to quote here. So I say to Prabhupada, I find some prasadam is too spicy and really hurts my stomach. So then Prabhupada commented, very interesting. Um, well, that is also due to not appreciating. In other words, I couldn't appreciate this is prasad. Even Lord Shiva could drink poison but we're not Lord Shiva. Well, that is due to not appreciating, but the cook should have some consideration. Krishna must be offered first-class food, so the cook offers something last class. He's not performing his duty. But Krishna can accept anything if it's offered by a devotee, and a devotee can accept any prasad, even if it's spicy. Hiranyakashipu gave his son poison, and after offering to Krishna, the son drank it. So even if prasad is very spicy to others, it is very palatable to the devotee. What is the question of spicy? Krishna was offered poison, real poison, by Putana, but he is so nice, he thought, she came to me to be my mother. So he took the poison and delivered her. Krishna does not take the bad side. A good man does not take the bad side. He only takes the good side. So, just like one of my godbrothers, he wanted to make business with my Guru Maharaj. But my Guru Maharaj did not take the bad side. He took the good side. He thought, he has come forward to give me service. Then I expressed my doubt to Prabhupada. Here was my doubt. Let us say some devotee has medical trouble and cannot eat a certain type of food. For instance, some devotees do not eat ghee because of liver trouble. So should these devotees also take all kinds of prasad? No, as Prabhupada is saying, as a pure devotee, and we see prasadam, we make no distinction. It's spicy, it's not spicy. But wait, what if you can't eat it? And Prabhupada's answer leads right into this verse. And his answer was, just go and suffer. Nope, that wasn't his answer at all. It was quite opposite. No, those who are not perfect devotees may discriminate, but a perfect devotee does not discriminate. Why should you, this is the point, imitate a perfect devotee? So as long as you have discrimination, you are not a perfect devotee. So why should you artificially imitate a perfect devotee and eat everything? The point is, a perfect devotee or pure devotee does not make any discrimination. Whatever is offered to Krishna is nectar. That's all. Krishna accepts anything from a devotee. And he quotes from the Gita, whatever is offered to me, flower, leaf, or water, I accept. The same thing is true for a pure devotee. Then he turns to me, Prabhupada says, don't you see the point? A perfect devotee does not make any discrimination. But if I am not a perfect devotee and I discriminate, why should I imitate the perfect devotee? It may not be possible for me to digest everything because I am not a perfect devotee. A devotee should not be a foolish man. It is said, Krishna ye bhajase bhara chatura. So devotee knows his position, and this is the key phrase, he is intelligent enough to deal with others accordingly. So that's the point Prabhupada makes. Don't imitate a pure devotee. Now we'll get into this verse. Ishvaratad adineshu balishu devatsatucha prema maitre kripo pakshe ya karoti sa madhyama. An intermediate or second-class devotee called Madhyama Adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. is a sincere friend to all devotees, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the personality of Godhead. This is the intermediate devotee. This is the position you and me, and I assume all of us or most of us on this call are aspiring for. We're not trying to imitate the pure devotee. So, as an intermediate devotee, what do we do? Well, we're friends to all the devotees. Friend means we reveal our mind in confidence, they reveal their mind to us. Sometimes devotees have a lot of trouble with this. There's an old saying, telephone, telegraph, tell a devotee. And it spreads all over the place, this rumor, that rumor. That was very displeasing to Prabhupada, and it should be, because a friend means someone you can talk to in confidence without being judged. So we should be friends of the devotees, show mercy to the ignorant. We're an outreach movement. Most people don't understand higher consciousness. We're trying to deliver it. So we should be merciful and disregard those who are envious. Now, envy is a key word here because in the Gita, Krishna makes it absolutely crystal clear. What does Krishna say in the Gita about envy? Can somebody help me? Whoever helps me will be the most non-envious person on this call. Okay, maybe not, but somebody help me.
He says to Arjuna, one of the reasons I'm telling this to you is because you who are not envious of me.
As usual, you got it right. Exactly right. Krishna is explaining the Gita for one reason, because Arjuna was not envious. The envy is very dangerous. It's the most dangerous emotion. Jealousy. Hey, somebody else just bought a new car and I have an old jalopy. Boy, I wish I had one. Yeah, we can be a little jealous. I mean, it's just normal emotion. Um, I actually prefer an old jalopy. I was at the Krishna house and a friend of mine was pulling out of the lot and he nicked my car and put a little dent in it. And he goes, oh no, look what I did. I said, well, do me a favor. I saw what you did. Will you please drive around and put an equal and opposite dent on the other side? It's an old car. What do I care? Just make it symmetrical because I like symmetry. It makes for better art. So I actually wasn't envious of the new car. I like having the old one, so I don't worry about these things at all. But nevertheless, sometimes somebody has a new car with all its whiz-bang electronics. Maybe I'll feel a little jealous. But envy is, I don't want that person to have that car. I may want it myself, yeah, but envy means I don't want them to have it. I want them to suffer. That's envy. And envy is very difficult to cure. Now, there is a secret way to cure envy. I remember this from a class actually Rameshwar Prabhu gave in the early 80s. He gave this brilliant class when he was visiting on envy, and I still remember the words very well. How do we cure envy? If I'm envious of someone else, and it's going to happen. Can anybody tell me? Let us say I am envious. I see Min here. I am envious of Min because she can do amazing artwork and I can't do any. And my thought in my mind is, I hope her artwork burns in a fire. That's envy. That would be envy. What's my cure for that envy? Somebody help me out.
Is it appreciation of the devotee, the person?
That would help, but right now I'm not appreciating. There's something more radical. That's a good answer, but more radical. I'm envious of Min because I cannot, I want her artwork to burn to ashes because I, can't do any artwork. There's something more important.
Serve her?
Say again?
To serve her?
Yes, exactly. If I'm envious, serve. Okay, I'm envious of so-and-so, I'm going to serve them. That gets rid of our envy. That is the secret to it. And Remember when Rameshwar said that a long time ago? It really struck me because we're all going to get a little piece of envy will show up at sometimes. So now we have a way to deal with it. Stephanie, I see your hand is raised. Did you have a comment?
Sorry, yes. Wouldn't we want to find the root? Actually, why? Because I feel like maybe if I even serve that person, I'll feel kind of like that's what I'm supposed to do instead of truly finding the root why I feel that way towards that person.
Okay. Say that one more time, or say that a little different way. I didn't quite follow.
Like, what's the cause of this envy? Or you're
Oh,
saying that by serving the devotee, that'll just cure it instead of finding why do I feel this way about that person?
yeah.
What does this reveal about myself?
That is the insightful question. Now I have to think of an insightful answer. Okay. So, um, generally, that is the worst disease we have, that we are envious of others. In fact, it's how we got in the world in the first place, that we have that little touch of envy that we want to be the enjoyer, not the servant. And when that happens, we all have a little bit. So Krishna consciousness means, look at that word, consciousness. It means raising our consciousness. It means, to use the modern language, being extremely mindful, being aware of what our emotions are. When I first read the Gita, I was bewildered by one aspect of it. Here's this deep spiritual text, and it goes chapter upon chapter of what? Psychology, modes of nature, mode of goodness, mode of passion, how to speak in the mode of goodness, what it looks like speaking in the mode of passion, what it looks like acting in the mode of ignorance. Why all the psychology? I thought we're going for some spiritual truth here. What's that about? Then I understood it's actually mindfulness. It's becoming aware, more aware. And ultimately, the ultimate awareness is Krishna consciousness. So it's taking us on that path. Okay, I'm going to read some of the purport. It is a fairly long purport. And if I read the whole purport, then I'd have to wake you up at the end. But I'll read some of it, leave some time for comments. According to the Gita, every living entity within the world is eternally a minute fragment portion, Supreme Personality of Godhead. But, and the but's the big thing here, because of the influence of Maya, the puffed up conditioned soul becomes inimical to the service of the Lord, and the Lord's devotees choose leaders among materialistic sense gratifier, and thus engage busily in useless society of the cheaters and the cheated. And therefore, you end up a society of the blind leading the blind into a ditch. Although, now it's talking about us, the community of Vaishnavas is sincerely eager to serve the conditioned souls by bringing them back to their constitutional position. By Maya's influence, the materialistic living entities become hard-hearted and rejects the mercy of the Lord devotees. So, according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, although a second-class devotee is eager to preach to the innocent souls, he should avoid the atheistic class of men so he not become disturbed or polluted. So, I'll tell a story. I've told this before, but it's worth repeating. There was once a Mayavadi speaker. This was maybe in the 80s in Atlanta. And he was a Mayavadi from India, was speaking, very popular, big crowd. So Balavanta was temple president, and he took a young bhakta with him. Said, let's go hear this guy, see what it's about. So he went to hear this Mayavadi guy speak. And sometimes it's, the Upanishad says you should cultivate knowledge and ignorance. You have to understand what's going on in the world if you want to be an outreach person. So Balavantu was thinking, I want to know what's going on here. What's this guy about? He's popular. So he went, and the guy saw these people dressed as devotees. And in his talk, he started heavily criticizing Prabhupada. Imagine that. And Balavantu's thinking, well, Shastra says I should either kill him or leave the room. Thinking a quote from Janaka Pandit. So Balavantu was thinking, I'm just going to leave. And this young Bhakta had been a devotee 2 months, was with him. And the Bhakta stood up, and Balavantu didn't know what he was doing. And he walked to the aisle and started walking to the stage. And he yelled at the top of his lungs, you take that back. You take back what you said about my guru. You are insulting my guru. You cannot say that. And the guy took it back. This young devotee just stood up to him and says, you cannot say that. And he's so, oh, Madan Gopal's here. Oh, nice to see you. What a pleasant surprise. And the devotee, and so Balavantu was quite amazed. He had been a devotee a decade, and this guy had been a devotee 2 months, did the right thing, stood up and says, you can't say that about my guru. Because this fellow was actually envious of Prabhupada. I have to deal with a delicate issue. I'll share it with you. I run the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and some people come to work with us, and they may not be exactly in our sampradaya. They may be in Gaudiya Math or some other branch, or they may have a little different philosophical point, but they're very intelligent and want to work with us. So my question is, by what criteria do I allow them to work with us? Can somebody answer that question?
Mutual respect.
Say again?
Mutual respect.
Mutual respect. Yeah. And then I give a rule. And the rule is simple. It's very simple. When you enter the door, your politics stay on the other side. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear criticism of devotees. I mean, you can criticize the way I'm managing all you like. That's fine. If I'm screwing things up, tell me. And I work with a lot of Brahminical scientists. They have no trouble telling me when I'm screwing things up. That's good. But you leave your politics on the other side of the door. And if you have any politics, you're not welcome. Same thing Krishna House does. Somebody may have this philosophy or this gripe or that. You leave it on the other side of the door. The kids who join a Krishna House, the young people, the last thing they want is to see us behaving like their parents did, dividing into this church and that church, and this group and that group. When I first came to Houston, I was the first life membership director in Houston. I take credit or blame for converting the first ISKCON temple into a Hindu mandir. Anyway, put that aside. So I was the life membership director. I spoke some Hindi. Everyone had to go on Sankirtan in the temple. Everyone had to go on Sankirtan. I had a full-time job, but on weekends, everyone would grab the book bag and go out to traffic lights. And there I was begging at traffic lights from the same people I worked with as a junior executive. It was difficult. And then the first wave of Indians to get visas were not Silicon Valley, it didn't exist then. It was Houston, the engineers. That was the first wave where the visas started opening up, even before the hotel owners came to America. Our friends, the motel, we call, what is it? The Motel Patels, before they could come. And so I spoke some Hindi. So I started thinking, I'll just do life membership. It's one way to avoid getting my book bag at Lights. And it worked. It was very successful. People joined. Prabhupada said the Indians are our best friends. So I said, okay. Because they're naturally Krishna conscious. Prabhupada would say the Indians, they're naturally Krishna conscious. They're one step from Krishna, facing the wrong way. And you Americans at that time, you're 10 steps from Krishna, facing the right way. Wow. So now, is that true nowadays or not? I can't say. But at that time, almost virtually all of Prabhupada, the overwhelming majority, were Westerners, and the Indians were our best friends, and they were ones to help. And so that was Prabhupada saying about that. So I'm in Houston and start doing outreach to the Indians, and it's successful. They are our best friends. And at that time in Houston, though, they had one small Indian temple, Hindu Temple Society of Houston. And they got a little envious of us. And the guy would come by to the Sunday feast, because a lot of Indians would start coming to our Sunday feast, and try to solicit people to go to his temple. And I saw him doing that. And my response was, go for it. Didn't make a difference. Then their deities were stolen. Somebody broke in. The deities were brass, but somebody must have thought they were gold, and they were stolen from this other group. And 2 weeks later, they noticed their deities were missing. I'm not exaggerating that one. It took them 2 weeks to notice. Then they divided up into 2 groups and 3 groups. It was the same size population, then 4 groups. They kept dividing and dividing and dividing. Because there was they didn't have that central point. They didn't have the central point of we are here to work together in spite of, we may have our differences. That's okay. Some of us may be conservatives. Some of us may be very liberal. Some of us are born wired that way, but we can work together cooperatively. That was Prabhupada's vision. And we can do it because we work hard to give up our envy. I have a friend of mine. He's chair of the local Democratic Party, and we're good friends. Not a devotee, but very favorable that he knows what my devotional life. And I said, what's up with these Republicans and Democrats at each other's, clawing at each other? He said, simple. Republicans are mean and Democrats are stupid. Now, I'm not trying to make a political commentary in the class here, but he was head of the Democratic Party. That's what he said. And that actually is how I view things, because without higher consciousness, it all becomes some kind of stupidity. So I'm going to read a little bit more of the purport. Like I said, it's a long purport. So we're going to move on to the description by Bhaktisiddhanta of the Madhyama Adhikari, the intermediate devotee. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has given an elaborate explanation to prove that discrimination employed does not all show a lack of mercy. In other words, there's some discrimination here in saying that I said at the very beginning that this is right from the verse, not the purport, since the intermediate devotee is a friend to all the devotees, shows mercy, ignorant, and disregards those who are envious. So the question remains, well, if he disregards those who are envious, isn't he engaged in some kind of discrimination? He's not showing mercy to the envious. So Bhaktisiddhanta states that the neglect of of those who are envious is the proper medicine for those who are inimical to Supreme Lord and devotees. Indifference from the preacher checks feelings of hostilities on both sides. In other words, we're indifferent. We don't make those who are envious our enemies. We ignore them. That's the advice given here. Although there are Vedic injunctions that one should cut out the tongue of a person who offends the Supreme Lord, as I mentioned before in that story. In this age, it is simply best to avoid potential offenders, thus prevent them from committing further sinful activities against the Vaishnavas. It is the duty of a Vaishnava preacher to point out the futility of any process besides surrendering to the Lord. An envious person, however, will resent such strong preaching by a Vaishnava, disrespect him, considering devotee to be unnecessarily criticizing others. Such a person who cannot appreciate the mercy of Vaishnavas should be, keyword, neglected. Otherwise, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, his cheating mentality will increase day by day. So, the point being that if we ignore those who are envious, we are not being unmerciful. We're preventing them from doing further offenses. I'll give an example. The very first time I met Prabhupada was a strange experience. Before I met Prabhupada in Mayapur, I visited the Calcutta temple and Prabhupada was there, and I got to sit in the room. And there were two devotees in the back of the room arguing. Now, I was thinking, well, they told me that this Prabhupada, he's a pure devotee and knows Krishna, knows everything. Why would two devotees in the back of the room be arguing? They could just turn to Prabhupada and say, what's the answer? And Prabhupada basically ignored them. That was strange to me. Can someone tell me what was going on? Tell me why Prabhupada didn't say something. Or can somebody answer that question? That was a question I had in my mind.
Maybe Srila Prabhupada tried to show them they were being silly by arguing.
Well, they were being, one of them was being very silly. It was a sannyas about to bloop, turns out.
He didn't want to give them attention.
No, well, there was a deeper reason. I'm making you think today. I like this. Why would Prabhupada say nothing? And there are many instances of Prabhupada not saying something in cases like this. Little tricky answer. Somebody else want to give a try?
Was it because the content was so offensive and he didn't want to kind of dignify it with intention?
Speak a little louder.
Was it because the content of the conversation was so offensive and he didn't want to dignify it with the attention?
Very close, very close. Prabhupada felt that if he would interfere, he would ultimately be giving an instruction. And this devotee was already about to leave his position. So if Prabhupada gave him an instruction, he would have a double offense. He would be leaving his service and disobeying the orders of the spiritual master. So you got it right, Madan Gopal. So therefore, Prabhupada did nothing. But I sat there bewildered. I said, if there's a pure devotee in the room, why don't these two people just ask him? That's the easy thing. And the reason they didn't ask is they knew if they asked Prabhupada, especially this one devotee who was having trouble, that he understood that he would be then disobeying two things, his vows to Prabhupada and a direct instruction. And Prabhupada knew not to intervene. Just let him do what he had to do because he had to go through something. So that was the wisdom of Prabhupada. And that's an example of, in this case, somebody having some envy in their heart and Prabhupada doing the wise thing, ignoring that. So these are some of the lessons that are here. I'm going to give a little summary and then some time for questions. Otherwise, the host will get mad at me. An intermediate or second-class devotee called Madhyama Adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Lord. He is a sincere friend to all the devotees, shows mercy to the ignorant who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the personality of Godhead. In order to preach, one must come to the second class platform. That may seem strange. Somebody on the first class will see everyone as a devotee, and therefore it's very hard to make an outreach movement when you're seeing everyone as samadarshana, equal vision. It's necessary, and Prabhupada said this to me, that the devotee must step down to the second class platform in order to spread the movement. Doesn't mean the devotee is second class, but it means he has to go and make some discrimination and distinction. I'll read another line from the purport I had marked. Jiva Goswami has pointed out that even though the Mahabhagavata may act on the second class platform for preaching, his rejection of the envious living entity does not obstruct his vision of seeing the Lord as all-pervading. Rather, when a first-class devotee rejects the atheist class of men, he is expressing the mission of the personality of Godhead. In other words, and Prabhupada, in the purport by Prabhupada's disciples, this 11th canto, a first class or second class never actually becomes envious of another living entity, but out of intense love for the Supreme Lord, he becomes angry when the Lord is offended. So I'll stop here and leave 5 minutes for questions. Or any questions or comments on this important topic? Any insights? Don't be shy. Madan Gopal, any insight you'd like to give to this?
I really appreciate this context or the structure of doing this. I think a lot of the times we fall into this trap of thinking, who am I to judge? When we have to make a decision on who to get close to or who to avoid, who to keep distance from. But Rupa Goswami tells us we have to understand that there's 3 levels, and we have to really, it's not about being judgmental, it's about being discerning where to apply our energy and where to apply the proper level of respect. Otherwise we may end up disrespecting someone who deserves high respect, and giving too much attention and respect to someone whose association we're better off avoiding. So I think the framework is very good, and there's a lot of subtleties that you brought out, so I really appreciate that. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, thanks. You said at the BI twice I took out devotees to lunch. I took them to Krishna lunch on the campus. I said, let's have lunch together. And I said to them basically, don't go away mad, just go away. But I did it in a nice way. I took them to lunch. I even made the donation for the lunch. And because all they would do is criticize everything without even knowing what's going on, because they had an agenda. So I understood from this verse that it was best that they will be the proverbial rotten apple that will destroy the whole barrel of apples. And so I had to separate them, but I tried to separate them in a way that they wouldn't become an enemy. In other words, don't go away mad, just go away. And they did, and it worked. So that's one way to deal with it. It's very difficult to discriminate because we want to have samadarshana. One reason I joined ISKCON Resolve almost 25 years ago is personally as a devotee, our vision was to see the dog eater, which is considered the lowest of anything, and the Brahmin and the elephant. Krishna says we see them all equally, but I wasn't seeing equally. I was discriminating. This is good, that's bad. And I realized my own spiritual life may be suffering from this. So ISKCON Resolve was teaching me how to rise above judgment, but it doesn't mean we get stupid about it. I don't associate with people who are very envious, very, very critical. So I wanted to have equal vision without my mind being occupied by judging everything. I see Nityananda Chandra, you have a question or a comment.
I have a quote about spicy food from Srila Prabhupada, very interesting from the 7th canto lecture. Would you like to hear it?
Of course.
So Prabhupada says, there was a king. He was giving shelter to all the brahmanas. He had a guest house. So any brahmana could stay there, but many people who weren't brahmanas were coming. And he had a thing that they could also order free stuff there was a store that was there. They could order free stuff. And so the king would ask, he would test who was a brahmana by looking at the bill. And he would say, oh, this one's taking a lot of sugar. He is a brahmana. This one taking a lot of chilies. No, throw him out. And so Prabhupada, he says, yes, that man is a brahmana. So these are the 3 gunas, means sweet, salt, and chili. Sattva guna is sweet, Rajaguna is salt, and Tamaguna is chili. And then and he's commenting on Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is saying, how will you accept me? I come from a chili family. I come from a chili father.
Oh, I like that. I haven't heard that quote. That was very helpful. Yeah, there is that. I mean, and again, if somebody is used to chili, I remember having lunch with Tamal Krishna Maharaj a few times, and there wasn't a chili on his plate. He was quite upset. Where is my chili? Because he needed it for his digestion. So I'm not condemning chilies outright. I want to be clear on that. I am saying that some discrimination may be there. I can't eat chilies, just my digestion. Someone else can. And that's the point, is not to condemn chilies outright. Okay, I think it's time to greet the deities according to my clock. Yes, I hear it now. So thank you very much. It's a great honor to be at the Bhakti Center. Madan Gopal, I will be in New Jersey soon. I will contact you. Maybe we could have lunch again. Good to see you all. I hope you all have a blessed day, and you all be good Majjhima Adhikaris, which means you only discriminate as necessary and for the sake of protecting your own devotional creeper, and at the same time sharing it as best you can with others. Hare Krishna.
Dear devotees, cameras, please.
Lachimaya sadhu Valavigrahasya Govinda Tamaham bhajami Govinda Hari Pusham Govinda Hari Pusham Govinda Hari Pusham Shri Shivad Murli Dargo Chand Bhagavan Ki Jai Shri Dev Bhagavan Ki Jai Shivad Murli Dar Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of vision. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus sign. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes, fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic, flame my enemies, and my ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor and the Lord and Master of the devotees. Oh, Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Oh, let's leave kids up.
For your association. Welcome to the Afterglow. Would you like to ask a question or share a reflection? No, maybe. Okay, Madame Gopal Prabhu, would you like to say something profound to end the class? The punchline.
Hare Krishna. Don't know how profound this is. It's something I've found. This balance between discerning or discriminating on the right criteria and then also not misapplying discrimination and using it from the wrong criteria, I would suggest or recommend everyone read Nectar of Instruction, where the two verses are back to back. One, it tells you how to discern, and then the very next verse tells you, just like the mud and bubbles in Ganges sometimes may make the Ganges look impure, but that's just external. Similarly, just someone's external features, like their bodily features and things like that, should not be a consideration. So the fact that those two verses are next to each other are perfectly aligned in the sense that, yes, we have to choose your association carefully, but don't then reject association based on the wrong things. So the concept of discernment and discrimination has to be very carefully approached. So that's something we have to reflect on every time we make a choice like that. And we are making choices like that all the time. Who we open ourselves up to. Why do we trust certain people? Why do we adore certain people? Why do we stay away from certain people? We have to always evaluate our own choices did I choose it for the wrong reason? And I think that's what this section is inviting us, and even that part of the Nectar of Instruction is kind of based on this section of the Bhagavatam, so it all ties in very beautifully. So that's all I can say. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhangopal Prabhu. And once I identified someone who I can trust and adore, like Bhima Prabhu, is that for good? Or is that subject to change or adjustment?
The only constant is change, of course. Everyone can change. People change. We are, our level of conditioning goes up and down. It doesn't always just go down or up in one direction. So people do change. We've seen that in our lives. So certainly, whenever we trust anybody, it's always a little bit of a leap of faith. But we should. The idea is that let's use our best judgment for making those decisions.
Thank you, Madhangopal Prabhu. Mathurnath Prabhu, you're unmuted. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, Madan Gopal, Hare Krishna. I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about tolerance, and just reflecting on, there are situations where we may not, it's not appropriate to say, have a firm boundary. I can't be around this person, I can't be around them. But of course, we have to tolerate situations as well. And can you talk about tolerance and a little bit about like what it means to tolerate and where we get the strength from to tolerate? Is it on my strength? Is it on Krishna's strength? We just, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Of course, tolerance is a key component of our Vaishnav theology or philosophy. Trinadapi Sunichena, we know that Taroriva Saishnana, be more tolerant than a tree. What does that exactly mean? Where do we apply tolerance? Where do we not? Do we always should we always be Trinadapi Sunichena? And there's a nice lecture by Prabhupada, and he says that when other devotees being blasphemed or abused or something, and you need to protect them, not at that time, Trinada Bisunichena. He said, at that time you don't use Trinada. He actually said that like that. It's pretty cool. So it's a good question, Mathunath Prabhu. Where do we apply the Tarorapi Saishnuna? Where do we not? Now, of course, the tolerant like a tree refers to personal discomfort, somebody misunderstanding us, or someone being immature, or small inconveniences that naturally arise when we serve together. They naturally arise. It's just part of the human experience, the conditioned experience, living in the world, working in this limited sphere. So tolerance is part of bhakti because when we tolerate these things, it protects our relationships. It prevents unnecessary offenses. We don't want to be like the Durvasa Muni of our temple, where littlest thing triggers us, right, and get angry. We don't want to get offended unnecessarily. It allows, holy name to be peacefully chanted. Of course, it cultivates the humility and compassion and whatnot. But tolerance also has boundaries, right? Prabhupada is clear that tolerance does not mean enabling wrongdoing. It doesn't mean encouraging dysfunction. It doesn't mean keeping silent in the face of genuine harm, right? So we have to apply it wisely. So we do tolerate when, say, we're from different cultures and different temperaments, different backgrounds. So, sometimes harsh words that we think are harsh but were unintentional, we tolerate those. We tolerate strong opinions because that's just an opinion. We tolerate difference in personality, minor conflicts. We tolerate someone's inexperience. So, basic rule of thumb in tolerance would be something like, if it's hurting my personal ego, if it's an impediment to my personal comforts or my preferences, then I should tolerate. I should tolerate, I should forgive, I should be introspective, I should be reflective. if there's inconvenience in services, like, generally things don't go smoothly. I didn't get recognized. I put in long hours. Nobody recognized me. I didn't get certain facility. Management isn't exactly perfect or smooth, ideal. It's okay. So basically, we want to be like, when you go out and preach, you want to be lions. But when we're servants, when we're working with other devotees, we want to be their servant, right? We also want to tolerate other devotees' struggles or other devotees' weaknesses. So we tolerate those. Now, where do we not tolerate? If there's abuse, physical, emotional, sexual, we don't tolerate it. We have zero tolerance for child endangerment, violence or threats, exploitation of the vulnerable. We don't tolerate wrongdoing in the name of religion. Also, we don't want to tolerate persistent, unrepentant Vaishnava aparadha. Someone consistently just criticizes devotees, spreads gossip, spreads slander, this bad words, constantly just trying to undermine authority just for the sake of undermining authority without any proper reason. So at that point, tolerance takes the shape of firm boundaries, corrective guidance, involving seniors when needed, and so on. We don't tolerate philosophical deviations that are gross. Misleading new devotees, preaching outside Guru Sadhu Shastra, making up stuff. We have to make sure Siddhanta is protected. So that's why we need to educate so much. And we also want to be careful on when someone's actions are repeatedly harmful. Really undermines the team cooperation. It really hurts the temple culture, for example, repeatedly and disrespectfully. So those are things we don't want to tolerate. So then what is the middle path? The middle path is, or at least where do we discriminate? The question is this a situation that requires my tolerance, or is this a situation that requires my intervention? That's where we have to apply these criteria. If it harms me personally, or if not harms me, but if it inconveniences me personally, tolerate it. If it harms others or harms people, if it harms the mission, harms Siddhanta, harms children, then we don't. So I hope that framework helps. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Matanath Prabhu, for the question, and Nangopal Prabhu for the answer. Krishna Kumari, please.
I just wanted to share that, the other day I was really feeling like we don't know who anybody is, and we have to show the same respect that we would show our spiritual master to somebody that might not be practicing yet or might be new. It's really important to see everyone as important and parts of Krishna. Krishna loves them, so we shall love them too. And I did want to just that Gaur Chandra, he's wearing his really big golden necklace today. And he did have a peacock feather in his turban with ribbons of red, purple, and braided silks. And his garland today is special. It's got little thin parts and then bigger for devotees. And then flute. It's different than his usual flute. This one's very thin. Maybe it has a certain melody. Maybe he's sending a special message to the gopis. He's looking really majestic. His turban's so big, and he's got just a little golden paisley pointing to Radha. And Radharani Today she's wearing a sari. And she's got just a small bouquet today with just 2 flowers. Maybe it's to signify
Please forgive me. Is it only?
Your
I
signal's
don't
cutting
hear.
out.
time
I don't
medallion
hear.
as well. And
Your signal's
Hare
cutting out.
Please
Okay, no
forgive me. I
problem.
don't hear.
Hare
I don't hear.
Krishna, Jai Shri Shri Radha Murali Dhar Gaur Chandra.
Thank you, Krishna Kumari, Janardhan Prabhu. Thank you very much, dear devotees. It's all Devaki Preeti, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Gopal Prabhu, for your answer to that question. I was just wondering, I liked how you phrased that question. You said, is this a situation that requires my tolerance or my, what was that other word you said? I thought that was a nice mantra that I
Intervention.
could try to remember.
Intervention.
Intervention. Thank you so much. That really helped for me to understand that as well. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nice. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much for your contributions, dear devotees. We need a reciter. Karen, are Isaiah and Annabelle available to chant enthusiastically?
They are. Oh no! Oh, okay. You didn't like it. No, I didn't. Go. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
The electric chipmunks chanting Hare Krishna. This is Samadarshana. We don't discriminate, we discern. Thank you, Madam Gopal Prabhu, for drawing the line for us, as always. Dear devotees, we love you, we need you. Come again tomorrow. Hare Krishna, stay warm. Haribol.